Hi, my name is Stuart Lynch, and this is the first video in a new series introducing improvements to MapKit for SwiftUI. In this series, we'll be building an entire application and using Swift data as the persistence layer to save our map locations between launches. In the end, you should have completed what I think is a very useful application to add to your iPhone or your iPad. I love getting your feedback, so tap the thumbs up button if you enjoyed this video and leave a comment below. Make sure you subscribe to the video and ring that bell to get notifications of new videos. And if you want to support my work, you can buy me a coffee. So let me take you through the app and see what we'll be building in this series. I call the app My Trips. And if you're going to follow along with me, you should, because you learn better and retain more when you work along. You should download the starter project from the link in the description for this video. And make sure you download the starter project from the main branch. The completed source code for each of the videos will be provided in its own branch. So you can fetch the zipped archive from the code menu. When we're done, the app is going to look something like this. Now, there may be some changes, as this app is one that I built basing this series on, but it may change a bit as I get into the series more. When I launch the app, I'm taken to my current location. That's my current location right here, where my house is. And it just so happens that I've saved this region as one of my destinations, as you'll see shortly. I've saved a bunch of locations that I visit regularly, and all of the information is stored using Swift data. So I can zoom in on the map and select one of the locations that I've marked and get a preview of that area. I can see how long it'll take me to drive or even walk. I may prefer to open location in Apple Maps. Or I can show the route for this app. And I can also get step-by-step directions. I can change the appearance of the map, maybe satellite with roads, set the elevation to realistic, and choose to show other points of view, and perhaps show or hide traffic. And then I can zoom in from here and go into 3D mode. And I can even alter the pitch for a great 3D view. And while I'm here, let me do a search for coffee shops and see if I can find one that I like. All of these are features that are enabled with MapKit for SwiftUI. Well, the other part of this app is the ability to use it to plan ahead for your vacations. On the Destinations tab, you can create locations that you want to visit, and in each case, choose the region and add some places that you want to visit. You see, I have Berlin, Paris, and Vancouver in my current list of locations already. And then, as I visit each of the destinations, the map region changes to show that region and any locations there that I have saved. So let me create a new destination. I really want to return to Stockholm, so I want to add it to my list. Once I add that location, the view defaults to my current location. So let's search for Stockholm. And then I can adjust and set the region to that region where I want to visit. So let me search for and add some attractions. And as I find those locations that I want to visit, I add them to my database. And they get added to the sites for Stockholm. Now, the one that I didn't see is the Vasa Museum. So let me search for it. And I can add it. Now, whenever I visit Stockholm and I open the app, that first screen is going to show this location and all of those saved markers. I think this is a pretty useful application. So I hope you stick with me as we build the app. So let's take a quick look at the starter project. There's really not much code here at all. All I've done is the following. The app launches and presents the Start tab, which is a tab view that displays either a trips map view or a destination locations map view. And I've also applied 3 modifiers that apply to the tab bar so that I get this blue tab bar at the bottom. Each of those views are in their own groups and are just generic views with a single text view. I've added some assets to the project. There's the accent color. There's another color called App Blue. I've added an app icon, an image called Eiffel Tower, and another image called Launch Screen that's used on our launch screen. And finally, another image titled Sacré-Cœur. Here's the launch screen storyboard file that displays the launch screen on launch, and I've added that launch screen image to it. I've also set the background to use the system background color. For the app itself, it'll run on iPhone and iPad, but for the phone, I've limited the orientation to portrait only. And as you can see, I've added the launch screen displaying the launch screen storyboard on launch. Throughout the building of this application, I'm going to be showing you a lot of features that are available in the Map API. Not all of them will be used in our project, but I'll try to introduce you to the possibilities wherever I can. This first video is a prime example. The completed code for this will be in the branch titled V1 Map Marker Annotation Region. I'm going to show you some basic functionality in the map view, but in the next video, we'll basically tear out this view and implement our project that uses Swift data to persist our destinations and locations to our devices between launches. The Destinations tab will be used to display all of the sites that we have selected to visit for a particular destination. When this view gets presented, it'll zoom to that particular location and it'll present on the map all of the markers or annotations on the map for that site that we want to visit. Well, MapKit's been around since iOS 3 and was made available in SwiftUI in iOS 14. However, it was rather limited. With the introduction of iOS 17, however, this is significantly improved. We're not quite there yet with the UIKit parity, but we're getting close. To create and work with a map in SwiftUI, we need to first import MapKit. Then we can replace that provided text view that we have here with a simple map view. You now have a fully functional map displayed on your screen, and the view that you get will depend on the locale setting for your particular device or for your computer in Xcode. So for me, I'm Canadian and my Xcode preview has been set for the US, and I'm seeing a map of North America. Now, before I go any further, you'll need to be familiar with how you can move the visible region displayed on either the preview canvas or the simulator. I find it a bit temperamental, but knowing a few key things will help you out. You can click and drag, and that'll allow you to move the visible region around. If you want to zoom in on the map, you have a couple of different ways of doing this. You can double-click and keep the mouse down and drag, and dragging up will zoom in, and dragging down will zoom out. If you hold the Shift key down and click and drag, it will do exactly the same thing. You can simply double tap at a location, and where you do double tap, it will drill down into the map, and you can continue to double tap and zoom to precisely where you want to view. If you hold the Option key down on your keyboard when you tap on a map, it's like touching two fingers. A quick Option tap on the view will zoom out at that location. And notice that as you zoom, you'll always notice a map scale view appearing and then disappearing. In a later video, I'll show you how you can control the visibility and placement of this. If you want to rotate a map, hold down the Option key in the keyboard when clicking, and then move your mouse in a clockwise or counterclockwise direction to simulate the twisting of two fingers, and this will rotate the map. And as you do this, you'll notice the map compass control appear on the screen. You can get back to pointing north simply by tapping on that compass once to force the return to north, and that compass will then disappear. When you zoom in on a map, you can change the pitch of the view by holding down the Option and the Shift keys and passing up or down on the screen. I find that sometimes when I do this, many of my other controls stop working as they should in the preview, and I have to switch out of live mode and then back in again. I've had much more success with the simulator. Typically, when you open a Maps app, the view is centered around your current location. And we'll get to there. But we will not want this for this particular view. In this view, we're going to be getting here by way of a navigation stack that will pass in a destination along with a specific viewing region for that destination. So to demonstrate how this works, let's pretend that we're going to go to Paris, and we want to center our view around the center of Paris. For this, we'll need to know two things: the coordinates of the center, longitude, and latitude, along with how far east and west and north and south of that center we want to have our map display. The center can be expressed as an instance of a CL location coordinate 2D object, and the span or distance from that center will be our span, and that is a MK coordinate span object that's going to require us to provide a latitude delta and a longitude delta. So let's set the region and camera then to where our view is going to appear. The camera position is a state property of type MapCameraPosition, and it will change as we adjust the view of our map. Well, this will need an initial value, so we can simply use automatic. And we saw that basically when I opened that first map view. It shows me North America. And then we can create an onAppear block, and within it, adjust that camera position. So first we'll need the center position, and this is a CL location coordinate 2D object that needs a latitude and a longitude. Well, if you open the Maps application on your map, you can search for Paris, and it should take you directly there and present this nice little view here with 3 dots in the upper right corner. If you click on those 3 dots, you'll see that you can copy the coordinates. So I'm going to do that, and I'm just going to paste them here as a comment in this view. I see that that's my latitude and my longitude. So I'm going to create a new instance that I will call Paris as a CL location coordinate 2D, and I'm going to pass in those coordinates for the latitude and the longitude. Well, the span is the number of degrees of latitude and longitude that you want to span on either side of that center. And I find that 0.15 is a good value. So let's create a Paris span property that's an instance of the MK coordinate span, and I'll use that value for both the latitude and longitude deltas. The region then is what we're going to call Paris region, and it's an instance of the MK coordinate region that uses the center, which is a CL location coordinate 2D, and a span, which is the MK coordinate span, which we already have. So our center is Paris, and the span is Paris span. Well, now that we have that, we can set our camera position to the region using that region. And now all we have to do is add a position argument to our MapView constructor using that updated and observed camera location. So it'll be updated as we adjust our view, which means that we will eventually be able to adjust and save our view for each of our different destinations. The map has a Map Content Builder closure, and within here you can configure your maps to show markers or annotation views. So let's take a look at these. A marker is a balloon-shaped annotation that marks a map location, and the simplest initializer for this is the one that accepts a label for the marker along with a coordinate on the map for the location. And that location's a CL location coordinate 2D object, just like it was the center of our region. So if we wanted to display a marker for, say, Moulin Rouge in Paris, we can determine the coordinates as I showed you when we got the coordinates for Paris. So I've already done this, and I've created a marker like this. The label is the string Moulin Rouge, and then the coordinates, that CL location coordinate 2D for the latitude, which I found to be 48.884134, and the longitude, which is 2.332196. Now, you can get your own list of sites from Paris for additional examples. But to save some time, I've created an extension to the CL location coordinate 2D, where I found the coordinates for 8 popular Paris locations. And you can get that extension from the gist here. It creates static properties for 4 different sites, and it just returns a coordinate. So you can download the zip and expand it. And then you can drag and drop that into your project. Once it's in your project, you can comment out this marker and replace it with this simpler version. For the marker, the label is still Moulin Rouge, but for the coordinate, we can just use the static property, Moulin Rouge. So let's explore some of the other initializers using that shortened extension to the CL location coordinate 2D. The mapping and the red tint for a marker is the default. We can, however, choose the initializer that lets us provide a label. So for the coordinate, let's choose Arc de Triomphe. And for the label, we can simply use the string Arc de Triomphe and specify that we use a system image, such as star.fill. And then we can apply a tint of, say, yellow. Well, markers can accept an image to use as the glyph if you can't find one in the system images. And that image will be rendered as a template image. In the Assets folder for this project, I provided an image of the Eiffel Tower that I drew in Sketch. So I'm going to use it. So I can specify that then for the image using the Eiffel Tower and its coordinates, Eiffel Tower. Let's set the tint here to blue. Another initializer lets us specify a monogram. So I'm going to create one for Gare du Nord. This is just a text view, and it's advisable to use a maximum of 2 letters for the monogram. So we can set the coordinate then to Gare du Nord. And how about using our app's accent color for the tint? For this final example, it's pretty similar to the second one that we created, except that we don't have to use a label. We can specify the string for the marker, like Louvre. And next we can choose a system image like person.crop.artframe. And the coordinates will be for Louvre. And then optionally, we can apply a tint, like our app blue color from our Assets folder. In addition to markers, you can use a customizable annotation used to indicate a location on a map. And this gives us a more colorful and exciting set of options. For example, let's create an annotation using the title, coordinate, and content initializer. For the title, I'll just use the string Notre Dame, and then I'm going to choose the corresponding coordinate. For the content, though, I can create a system image of a star. I can set the image to be a large-scale image, and then apply a foreground style of red. I can add some padding, and then a background of white, and finally a clip shape of circle. For the next example, I'm going to use an asset that I have in the Asset folder for this sample project, where I have a full-color image of Sacré-Cœur. So we can create an annotation where we can specify the title, coordinate, and custom content, but we can also specify an anchor position. So for the title, I'm going to specify the string Sacré-Cœur. We'll use our corresponding coordinate, but I'm going to set the anchor point to .center, which means that wherever the content is going to be presented, it'll be centered around that specific coordinate. For the content then, let's display the image using our asset. I'll make it resizable, scale to fit, And then I'll reduce the size by setting a frame with a width and height of 40. And then for one more example, let's create an annotation for the Pantheon. For the content, I'm just going to use a system image of map pin. And I'll set that image scale to large and a foreground style of red. Well, this just places a pin at that location, but we can enhance that with an overlay. So I'm going to create an overlay, but first I'll add some padding of 5, and then creating the overlay. In the overlay, I'll create a circle, and then I'm going to apply a stroke border of red with a line of 2. To enhance your map even more, MapKit for SwiftUI supports overlays to highlighted areas on the map, such as a MapCircle. All we need to do is provide a coordinate for the center. So let's choose that one that we used for our region center. And for the radius, I'll apply a radius of 5,000. Then I'm going to apply a foreground style of red and set the opacity to 0.5. So we get a nice circle surrounding those locations, but in behind them. So as we continue on with this application, we're not going to be using any annotations or map circles, only markers. But it's important that you're aware of what you can do to enhance your maps. So I encourage you to explore the MapKit documentation to get more ideas for styling your markers or annotations. Well, as we move and adjust our view, we'll want to be able to capture and use the new region and save it. So I'm going to start by adding a new state property that I'll call VisibleRegion. That's an optional MK coordinate region. So when we adjust our view, it triggers an on-map camera change function. And that provides us with a map camera update in a closure. And this context has a region that we can assign to our VisibleRegion to update it. Now, it's not necessary that we continually observe the change as we adjust our view. We really only need to know what it is when we have stopped moving or making the changes. So we can add a frequency argument, and I'll specify on end. Since we're updating our camera position when the view appears, the VisibleRegion will also be set as well. Though we are not going to use this in this video, this is a really important piece of information to have. It's going to allow us to save our specific viewing region for every destination we create. And when we get to searching, we can specify that we only want to search for locations around that visible region. More on that in the next video. Well, that's all for this video. If you enjoyed the video, please give it a thumbs up and leave me a comment. This is just the first in this series, and a new video will be released every week. Perhaps by the time you've watched this one here, there are more in the playlist. But be sure to subscribe to my channel and enable notifications so that you know when new videos are released. Thanks for watching.